Our today's guest is Carissa Willsmore. She is a head coach and a transformational leader in the fresh fitness. And she helps women overhaul their lives, their body, their mind, their soul through fitness, through personal training. She does a lot of wonderful things. So welcome, Carissa.
Thank you. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's start by us looking into what is it you actually do? Because obviously looking at fitness, there's kind of traditional way of like, okay, you just need to push your body through something and make sure that it's fit.
Yeah.
But what you do is something completely different. So
Yeah,
tell
absolutely.
us a little bit more as to what that looks like.
Sure. So yeah, I started just the way that you said, group fitness sessions and personal training, but through my own life journey, realized that health and wellness is very much something that starts from the inside, and fitness on the outside is just such a small component. So yes, the focus very much now is working on what's happening in here and what's happening in here, and connecting it all together through connecting people. So that's a bit about what we're about.
So, what is the biggest thing that you find for people as the difficulty? Like, let's say you work with women, and let's say
Yep.
they come in and they probably have some shame, some personal image issues, and they want to, let's say, lose weight or just get fit. What do
Mhm.
you find is the usual issue? Because it's not always just like, oh, you need to work out more, eat less calories. It's something else that tends to be behind the scenes there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for most women, it comes down to a lack of self-worth and self-love from the inside. I'm sure you would know that you really can't change anything outwardly if everything inside is, very much negative and um what's the word I'm looking for, shaming of yourself and feeling guilt and judgment. That's never going to be a way to create feeling good within your own skin.
Yeah, so if we think of like a particular type of a person, like who would be your ideal client? Like maybe give us a story of somebody's journey. What does it look
Yeah,
like when
sure.
they work with you?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, predominantly sort of working with ladies in their 40s to 50s. And oftentimes they've, sort of been on a diet roller coaster for, since their teenage years, tried everything. And then sort of as you get into your 40s and later 40s, your body starts changing. And I think your mindset often changes too. It becomes you want to be healthy because you want to be around for a long time. And it's a little bit less about, a dress size or a particular look. But also, a lot of frustration because they're like, well, I've tried everything. And nothing works, or I can stick to it for a little while. And yeah, so then I can sort of come in and we can work on, the stories in the head and the self-acceptance and getting rid of, lots of all or nothing thinking. I find, yeah, with women, like, oh, I'm either on a diet or I'm off a diet. And at the end of the day, being consistent with whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's working on your mindset or, the way that you're treating and nourishing your body, consistency is, the big game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like in my business and in the way that I teach, everything always has to be sustainable because if it's not
100%.
sustainable, then things will go for a while the way you want to based on a willpower, but then they fall apart. So I
Absolutely.
would
Yeah,
assume
yeah.
it would be the same thing with health, right? With the way that
100%.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always talking about, making a small change that's like super doable, like you could almost not even think about it. It's so easy. That might just be something like, drinking water or, whatever the case may be, building those small habits in and then adding another one and adding another one so that over time, those small changes add up to really big, meaningful changes. I think it's really super easy to get caught up in, well, I want the change and I want the change now. And and that's that all or nothing thinking again, and it's just not a sustainable approach to making long-term changes to your health and your mindset. And yeah.
So when they come to you, what does the journey of someone looks like? Is it an online, so they come in and schedule an appointment from anywhere in the world, and then you guide them through? So, like, can you tell us a little bit what that actually looks like if somebody starts working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I can chat online or in person, either way. And yeah, have a really big, sort of deep dive into someone's story, into their background, into right back to, the sort of stories that they grew up with, from their mums and, other women in their lives, because often those, the behaviors and the patterns we have start many, many years ago. And yeah, work out a plan, whether it's an individualized plan or a coaching plan in an 8-week form, to help take women through to unlock all of that, and yeah, get themselves set up and feeling empowered to move forward. And yeah, longer term coaching for anyone that's looking for further support or has got a bit of a longer journey to take.
Yeah, do you find that in your methodology, a lot of people who relate to this, like, women's world, are the ones who have some generational issues, as in grandmother did this, mother did this, and then I do this, and because of it, it will never work, let's say. And then they have children and they may be noticing the same thing they now giving to their children. And could you say, like, what that looks like for the way that you work with them?
Yeah, so the big part is bringing awareness to what's going on when it's becomes when it's such a generational thing. It's um, it's what seems normal, and so it's really hard to sort of pick up and go, well, actually, maybe this isn't the approach.
Not so normal.
No, no, maybe this is not the best way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we need to deep dive into that. And it takes a real lot of vulnerability for women, and a real lot of courage to have a really honest look at what they're doing. How we can put some stops in place, and how we can change the focus to moving towards what they actually want, rather than sort of trying to just squash down and push
Mhm.
away the things that they don't want.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they trust you so much because you have such a trusting energy. Like, your whole field is so like, hey, you can tell her things. It's okay. She's
Ah,
not gonna judge you. So
no,
they
no.
probably open up with you.
Yeah, yeah. And I've had my own journey. I mean, we all do, don't we, in various things, and yeah, continue to learn and grow. But yeah, 100% completely get the struggle that it is for many women. Absolutely.
What would be, from your perspective, the biggest lesson that you had to learn in order to be able to do this deep, honest dive with somebody who's maybe in self-judgment or whatever, in a way? Because when we didn't do our own work, then the other person doesn't trust us, even if we say all the
No.
right words. So the
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
they
yeah.
trust you is probably because you did your own work. So what
Yeah.
was this biggest lesson for you, that, like, in your life, you kind of went through your own probably meat grinder to figure out, whoa, okay, different
Yeah.
pathway?
Yeah. So it's been a process, of course, but definitely, I got to the point myself where I realized that the answer wasn't outside of me. The answer wasn't in another diet or another 8-week challenge or another, something. The answer was within me. And the first step, I think, is you really need to make peace with, well, that's the journey that you've had, and that's okay. Rather than sort of piling self-judgment and things on. And so certainly for myself, I've let go of some kind of ideal, a particularly media focused ideal of what a human body should look like and what I should look like. And and my actions now are uh coming from a place of, well, I want to care for myself and how I want to feel in the world and how I want to show up to other people in the world. And certainly not about what a number says on the scale, health focused and, always striving to be better than the day before. But yeah, certainly from a place of love and acceptance and understanding that it's all part of my unique journey, and that's important and valid.
Yeah, this is such an important thing to understand, I think, for people, that when we go through something, it's kind of one foot in front of the other to move the progress for the progress to happen, instead
Yeah,
of this generalized kind of huge leap and then everything will be different, and every time we
that's
set
right.
ourselves for that and then let's say it doesn't happen right away, it kind of like a recipe for disaster internally and for giving
Yeah.
up, would you say?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I can't say the number of times that I've said people, to clients that I've worked with, that it's not a straight road, and that's part of it. There's gift in the twists and the turns and the what feels like going down in a valley and you don't know if you're ever coming back out again, when you're at the bottom. But there's massive gifts, to be found in those places, and the U-turns and the detours. So acceptance that that's part of it is a massive thing to understand.
Yeah. So, how would you describe the result that your client has after working with you? Because I assume it would be something changing their body, but also other like internal world from everything
Yeah,
you just
yeah,
said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually made me think of someone that I've worked with recently, and she's in her mid 50s, and she's an absolutely hard worker, absolutely giving, to her child and her job, and her parents who are aging, and almost lost, her identity, over the years in her work and all of the responsibilities. And when we started working, certainly physically, she was really having a story for herself that, oh, I can't do that. I'm this old now, or I'm not this strong now. And so we worked initially with this particular client in a physical aspect. And I watched her over 6 months go from, oh my goodness, actually, I can do these things. And as we continued to work, when you feel strong physically, it often has such a impactful change on how you feel about yourself. And so she's made some massive and radical changes in her life to prioritize what feels good for her and to make choices for her career that are aligned with the way that she wants to present herself to the world. And so the physical changes are amazing, of course, but watching someone just who was so sort of shrunken, I'm going to say, in her personality, just absolutely, bloom and go, I can do stuff.
Mhm.
That's just, yeah, mind blowing. Absolutely a privilege to be a part of that. I love it.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's a lot of sort of a progress from victim state, like when you said
Yep.
shrunken and kind of minimizing,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
victimy, to something that's much more empowered and making
100%.
choices that's very from a different place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like a complete, it's almost like they've completely changed direction. I would describe this lady I was speaking about in particular as, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's done that, completely changed direction.
Yeah, and wouldn't that also relate to your own story, because you kind of went through that on the progress of that type yourself, right? Because you have a lot
Yeah,
of children from what I remember reading.
I do. I do.
I remember
Yes.
seeing that. I'm going, I'm gonna let her tell about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I got married young and had kids young, and
Many
yeah,
of them.
for many of them, six. Yeah, yeah. We'll just tell everyone I have six. Which is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
uh,
great, but six children. Wow,
yeah,
you're a hero
it's
just
a
for
lot.
that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. And I certainly gave, my heart and soul to that for many years. And, I think along the way for me, and I guess, this is something that comes up when I'm working with other women, is I thought that was my role. And I'd think, well, I really wish I could do this, or I had time, to pursue that kind of passion or interest. But that just mustn't be for me because I'm a mum. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, life sort of conspired. No, not conspired. Life gifted me some opportunities to grow. Which resulted in a change in my own health and fitness, and then a flow-on impact to how I approach myself, physically and mentally, and recognition of my worth, and that I've got a whole lot more to offer and share than, just being the mum of 6 kids. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think that would be probably a thing for a lot of people who are, if they women who raise children and kind of thought that that was their role. And then they realize that they actually can have more, especially when the kids start to grow up, when they now
For
in
sure.
menopause themselves. So they kind of like moving on to a whole other phase of their life. Can you speak a
Yeah.
little bit to that? Because I think that the whole fitness and psychological state, once the woman enters that third phase of her life, after
Mm.
menopause, it's very different.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think, a lot of the people that are coming to work with me, the focus is not on, a look. It's about how they want to feel. And it is often the first thing that they're doing for themselves. It's like, I just need to do something for me. And it oftentimes starts, with fitness. Well, I don't like how I'm feeling. And I don't do anything else for myself. And also, the fact that they're um, you know, aging, or, gaining, getting older, wiser.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, you start to realize, and you feel, within your body, things are not the same as they used to be. And you need to be intentional about the way that you're treating yourself. You can't just go, just
Mm-hmm.
go with the flow like you can in your 20s and you get
Or
away with it.
override as if nothing's happening.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
that probably would make a big difference too in what she feels she can allow herself, not just like the weight
Yes.
loss, let's say, but just as a like, what can I let myself have? Right.
Yes, yes. Yeah, 100%. And so often, I think many women sort of shut those doors for themselves. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's not available to me. And yeah, I don't know if it's, you might have some ideas whether or not it's an age thing or a wisdom thing, but yeah, there often comes a point where there's a certain level of dissatisfaction with, their lot in life, that often starts physically, but not always. And, when they start to question, well, there's got to be more.
Yeah.
I've got more to give than this.
Exactly. And in energetics, it's always a progression of one's life that has different phases where we're meant to look at things. Kind of like there are different things you're going to be looking at when you're a teenager woman, let's say,
Yes.
versus when you're having babies, versus when you're
Yes.
raising them, versus when you're older. And I mean, there's some age thing, but most of it, from my perspective, is not so much hormonal, but actually energetical
Yeah.
graduation to a next phase.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Make.
what would you say is your mission in life? Like this podcast is Conscious Coaches on the Mission. So I always ask people, like, what
Yeah.
drives you? What's your thing? Like, why are you doing this? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two main things. First one is to, try and bring awareness around diet culture and getting rid of it. But the big one for me is I have seen so many times the impact that quality human connection has on people's lives, and how that connection really enables people to do things that they perhaps thought that they could never do. It, fosters self-belief and self-confidence. And so, yeah, my mission 100% is to connect people. And, at the moment, my avenue is, through health and wellness and fitness. And I think people that feel fully connected and supported are so much more likely to, to show up in the world in an impactful way and, make big changes, whether it's just their own families or, on a global perspective, people that feel connected and supported, show up creatively and wholeheartedly. And yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
That's
and
what I'm
we're
about.
moving from that whole patriarchal culture of male
Mm,
dominated control, and unfortunately a lot of the body image that women have came from
yes.
that. So that's,
Yes.
from my perspective, that's being like disrupted right now. It's all falling apart.
Yes.
So
Yep.
it does need to be replaced with something healthy. So I'm very glad that
Yeah.
people like you are bringing that new template, new idea of
Yeah.
kind of a more harmonious way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think for a lot of time, a woman's body has been one separate thing, and whatever she has to offer from her head or her heart is a completely different thing. But we can't separate them. I don't believe, and together, when it's all working together, like you say, harmoniously, that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah, and it's also probably self-trust too for a lot of women, because it's
Yeah.
not just trusting you, it's learning to trust themselves.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, because you just lose, or speaking from my own experience, lose sight of that when there's so many messages, from partners or, the media or whatever the case may be, your family even, about the sort of way that you are supposed to show up in your life and the role you're supposed to play. And yeah, I think we absolutely deny those parts of ourselves that, that speak to who we really are.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And that is such a necessary step right now in humanity to
Yeah,
arrive
absolutely.
into. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how can people find you if they want to find out more about what you do? Would that be to go to your website, or like what would that be for you?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way is my Instagram. So I'll give you my Instagram handle. It's fresh, as in fresh fruit, dot
Mm-hmm.
fitness, dot mount, MOUNT, dot Barker. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
website I will put in the show notes. So definitely
Perfect.
reach out and find out more about Carissa. So, what would be the last piece of wisdom that you would want to give to the audience here?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this, and I have to come back to I have a tattoo on my arm, and it says, um, what if I fall? And then the response is, oh, but darling, what if you fly? And that is my biggest piece of advice. The opportunity is there for either, so go after the flying.
Yeah, and this is so true. So many people are terrified to risk because they think they're gonna jump off the cliff and die. When
Yeah,
actually it's like, but first of all, have a parachute so you're not completely jumping off the cliff, like have a plan. But second,
great advice.
why do you always assume it's going to be down? What if
That's
you just cover
right.
your wings?
That's right. 100%. So yeah, that's my wisdom for today.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carissa, for being here and sharing your wisdom. And everybody who's interested in harmonious way to your health through understanding yourself deeper and having this kind, generous, gentle support, definitely reach out to
Oh,
Carissa.
thank
All
you
the
so
links are
much.
in the show notes.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's been
you.
great to be here.